Evening all. Okay, let's go for a 15-minute game. Langrokade. I think my favourite move is knight c3. And okay, Scandinavian or centre counter, as it's known, but unusual line I'm playing here. So I suppose Black's playing quite energetically. Maybe a quick E5 is going to be dangerous. What about H3 here? Not minding exchange of queens or bishop E2 for a moment. And H3, try and get that light squared. Bishop. So E5, H3. That should be okay. So H3 here. Nice, I like the light square bishop. Queen A4 looks pretty tempting as well. But knight D4, knight E5. Knight E5 looks potentially dangerous. Queen A7, knight D3 check or knight F3. Actually, maybe that isn't dangerous. Can I wait for that move? Can I just play castling here? There's E5. E5. I think I will castle to get the king out of harm's way, even if I lose the d pawn to E5. Queen A4, ED. Bishop F4. What about bishop G5 takes, bishop takes? Bishop G5 here or Queen A4? I think Queen A4 now might be okay. I'm hoping. This bishop G3 I'm not really sure. Bishop G5 takes F6 for bishop G4 is interesting, skewing queen and king. Oh well, I'm not skewer. Right. So the queen is unprotected here, so it's a bit liable to tactics. What about just queen, say queen B3 for a moment? B4. Knight takes D4 though, there's a big problem. So what about queen B5 then? I mean queen B3 just on that B7. Looks a bit artificial. I don't really like wasting too much time and blocking pawns, but queen's a bit of a liability. I don't think queen B5 because of A6. Okay, so what's the plan here? Knight E4 to C5, bishop E3 maybe, bishop G5. I think bishop G5 here, then knight E4, FH4. Take, and then my bishops could be kicked, F6, and this one could be in trouble actually. So what about instead just a knight retreat? Maybe knight E2. Because otherwise I'm asking for just knight E4, bishop E4, F6. Unless there's anything clever there, I don't think so. E6 is slightly weakened. So knight E2 here for a moment. Okay, let's sort of strengthen the centre, rook D1 and C4. I've got this asset here that does protect D4 as well. What about this rook rather than this one? Rook FD1 gives the king the flight square, just in case it gets a bit dangerous. I have to move with king F1. So rook FD1, then C4, then maybe D5. That looks like a logical plan here. This bishop's kind of annoying actually. It's difficult now to evict with pawn to h6, given the pawn's there. There's no rook h5. Pin, I don't know. Bishop e7. Oh, light square weaknesses. Oh dear. What is that about? If I play rook d1 or queen a4, queen b5. What about just queen b5? In fact, knight d4, there's knight d4 protecting the queen. Knight e5, that does grab that bishop again. Knight e5. So a4 actually supports the queen. Hang on. Play a4. There's also a5, that's a better plan than rook d1. So a5 now evident, undermining. So let's say knight a5, okay. Yeah, maybe bishop f6 and queen e4 is on the cards. c6, there'll be b4. b4 first, taking queen e4. King b7, a5, threatening a6 to try and win that knight. In fact, here, just taking then queen e4, threatening queen a8. I think I'll do that. c6, b4, b4 straight off the bat here first to try and encourage knight c6, queen e4, king b7, a5. Okay, so I think b4 first. So will he play knight c6 and go into this battery, ready-made battery now? Knight c4, queen e4, c6. That'd be annoying. Sacking a pawn. b5. There's knight d2. He's gone for that. Okay, so the pawn sack idea. Whereas d takes here, attacking the knight, knight takes e5. Okay. b5 first, just making way for queen e4. There's f5. It could be time just to go for that then. Maybe just play rook d1 after, just to protect against knight d2. So c6, why not just rook d1? Then be prepared just to take on d4. There's b5. Okay, let's look at this again. Knight d2. B takes, knight e4. There's nothing much there to write home about. Bishop g4 here to restrain f5. b5. Okay, let's look at this again. Queen c6. And takes on exchange. So otherwise f5. Okay, but I'll take on c6. I think I'll go for this, just to be able to f5 queen c6, just to stop knight d2. If rook c8 b5, or d takes knight e5, because I'll be attacking the knight. Okay, so yeah, queen c6. It's not as nice as I'd hoped for, just winning a pawn, but that's the way he played it. To c4, sacking, using a pawn sack to minimise problems. So a5 or bishop d5, bishop h2. If I get my king out, this might be e3. And bishop b5 here. Where does knight go? Knight b2 is rook d2. That win another pawn. Bishop b5. So rook c8. Bishop a6. Maybe d5 after rook say c7. d5 threatening rook d4. Interesting. Well, I think I'll drag that rook away to c8 then. if that really is the case. If knight b2 is out of the question, rook d2, rook c8, bishop e6. Ah, okay, let's test this. What's going on here? It's not losing a second pawn. Yes. Seems rook f3 would be juicy. Dice pawns, a bit like the Who game we saw recently. Dice pawns against Polgar. So just try and zap these pawns like frozen ice cubes. Freezing water, which is topical actually for the weather at the moment in the UK. Like king h1 and rook g1. And take it for them protecting c3. I can't see any other way to protect g2 at the moment. Then after that maybe knight f4, knight d5, knight e3, forcing f4, knight g4. Okay, I'll take it from there, I think. Where can this knight go? It can go this way. c1 to d3. I think this way is interesting. Knight f4, knight d3. Either way, knight c1 to d3, just equally. Maybe it's got the bonus for knight d5 check. Okay, if I play b5 here, that pawns on knight squares away from the bishop. Okay, that's c4. c4, try and get in rook c1 and c5. Or rook c... No, actually he's got rook c8. And rook c1, there is c5, then taking on g2. There's knight d5 threatening knight f6 check. That looks pretty good as well. As well as knight e3. I think I'll do that. Just also, unless there's anything better. I think knight d5. Okay, that was a bit cheap maybe. Maybe a bit pointless. Okay, go to e3, f4, knight g4, f5. Is there any other point about that? Doesn't seem to be. It's just gaining space. Let's c4 now. c4, and then trying for c5. Could try that c4. So knight's quite strong on d5 at the moment. So maybe rook c1, c5. Try and get past pawn with c6. Then timely sack of g2 to try and use the two rooks and the knight with the passed pawn. So rook c3, c5 gives me a rook e2 as well, or rook e4. It's a bit of play, but surely past c pawn is going to be good here. So rook e4, rook d1, rook e2, c5, ready to go with the past c pawn. Actually, rook e4 with knight f6 check. In fact, f4 might be handy here as well, or f3 or c5. What about just c5, not weakening any squares just yet. So I'm getting this was rook e3 or c6 check. I think rook e3 forces something to do with like an exchange. I think rook e3 simplifies. Takes knight g4, maybe knight c4. One pair of rooks off, simplification, 2 pawns up. this looks a bit passive, but I'm creating greater assets for the moment on the queen side. Oh, he's resigned here. Alright, let's have a quick look. I think this light square bishop is always good to get. Okay, there was a bit of messing around with queen a4, queen b3, but now this b6 was just emphasising the light square bishop. This has just emphasised it even more, just to get the battery. So okay, I won just a pawn, but then I won another one from 2 pawns up, dice pawns. Bit of g-file pressure to neutralise, but now past c-pawn on the card is very dangerous. Comments or questions on YouTube. Thanks very much.